Okay, so, as I was saying originally before the game decided to not happen,
Yeah.
if anybody is watching on the other side of this recording, this is a series we're going to try starting called FusBus, short for Front Seat, Back Seat.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how to play this game.
Yep.
Norman here does. He's going to attempt to backseat game me into being halfway competent.
Yep, I've played about 1,400 hours, so I can look over your shoulder critically while he fucks up your... Which, you fuck itself up on its own, thank you very much.
Be a sick man.
And so apologies for my voice sounding more like a dead frog than usual, but I'm pretty sick. Alright. You want to read that out loud, or I don't know how we're going to do this. Presumably our fans have eyes.
Presumably they do.
Up here. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's paused right now. It has like 4 play speeds. My default Paradox playstyle is max speed and one hand on the spacebar to pause as needed. You're playing on a laptop though, so you're not going to be able to move as fast as your mouse. It might be worth it to you to learn how to use the hotkey. I have no idea. Yep. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Yep, you can pause again while you work stuff out. Alright, so there's notifications at the top there. This is just the tabs that control your that pull up the various aspects of your government and the other people's.
Okay.
These are alerts saying that things are happening. So that alert says that you have weak claims that can be pressed. Someone else inherited this phone, but your character has a claim to it, and you can technically go to war.
Okay. Let's stop worrying about this for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
How do I... Okay. So, what here is what I own?
You are the king of Leon. You can tell by the crest up by your
Okay.
Yeah.
So I own all of these.
Yeah, and you can switch on the political map mode. It's better than just looking at the rock. Go over to the mini-map. You can see all these little icons up there. The second one, Realms. Click that. Okay, now you can see who owns what.
That is definitely much better.
Yeah.
That should be the default.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, what are these other?
You can flip through and see all those. I'm going to get a glass of
Okay.
But each of those displays information about the world. That's the religion, because we haven't reconquisted yet.
Neat. Okay. So, back up here. Which is what we were expecting. So, these are...
So first you can click on your character's portrait to see their personal page. And, little helpful tooltips.
Okay.
Yeah. I can explain these things, or if you want to just read...
I don't like reading.
Okay.
So
Your character, your wife. You're not married yet. That's a problem. You should get married. Your heir. It looks like your heir is the King of Castile, your brother or something. Maybe he was your cousin. I don't remember. So when your character dies, you switch to control of your character's heir. This can be a problem if the heir is sucky or like doesn't get most of the land. Succession's a very big deal here.
okay.
Yeah. Here's a list of your traits below the heir icon. So those are things that affect your character. It's like an RPG character too. You can accumulate traits through events, and childhood is a big source of them too. Like the way you raise a child will determine which traits they pick up. But a lot of it is random number character accumulation. So you can have a shitty king who learns to make something of himself and becomes the leader his people need, or you can have a great ruler who has a string of tragedies happen to him and spirals into depression, lust, and gluttony, which is part of the appeal of this game, honestly. This is your dynasty shield on the right of your character's portrait. Up there, your House Jimena, which I think controls several of the kingdoms in northern Spain. This is good because you'll have family members close by that'll be likely to support you or make alliances and things. This is bad because they might also get claims on your throne and try to take your land away.
Okay.
Yeah. Up here is your ambition next to the, Yes. So, yeah, this is like a short-term or long-term goal you can set for your character that you want to achieve.
Okay.
It'll give you bonuses and events that help you achieve that along the way. It'll give you a small reward for completing that. So if you want to select your ambition now, you can, or we can leave it later. So an easy one to fill right away is get married. It looks like your character had the get married icon, little hearts. Your character wants to get a spouse. Makes sense. So if you select that thing, once you get married, which you were going to do anyways, you'll just get some piety.
Okay, let's do that.
And if you want to pick a spouse, you can go down to the 2 rings under the wife icon to arrange marriage. This will pull up a list of all the eligible females that you can see in the world. And there are several ways to sort them. You can arrange a marriage with a young woman who isn't of age yet, and she'll get sent over once she's ready to be queen. So you can gain or lose prestige depending on how important of a person you marry. Like the Princess of the Byzantine Empire, kind of a big deal. I usually don't focus as much on that prestige. Like, it can be nice, but I will ideally be making that up in other places. I focus instead on, like, age, traits, things that make her effective as a character.
Okay.
So you can sort by stats by clicking on any of these here. Your character has 6 stats: diplomacy, martial, stewardship, intrigue, scholarship. That's 5. I guess I have low stewardship right now. These each correspond to a facet of running your kingdom. You'll also have an advisor corresponding to each one of these facets. It can be useful to have a wife with a high rank in one of those because she can stand in for certain positions depending on the laws of your kingdom. I've pretty often had high intrigue wives end up being my spy masters. I also like to fish around for stewardship because her stewardship bonus gets added to yours, and that lets you manage your land more efficiently and hold more titles directly.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, and that's an unmarried countess, too. So if she doesn't have any children, your kids are going to inherit her county. So your son, if he inherits her county, is going to be both the King of Leon and a county in Denmark. And the King of Denmark might declare war on you to get that land, but, you know.
Then at least I have, at some point in the future, in the relatively near future, good reason to take that path.
Yes. It's also possible you'll be strong enough he's not going to fuck with you, or you'll just be able to start diplomatic relations, and eventually you'll have a monarchy spread out across 2 very different locations, you know. Like how England was in France, and, you know.
Okay.
So she'd be a good choice. You can check if she has any children to see if...
How do I check that?
You can just click her character icon.
Okay.
She doesn't. So, if you right-click her portrait, you can arrange a marriage. She's honestly a really good choice based on her starting stats and things, and like the fact that you'll get a free county out of it. So you can right-click her portrait and arrange marriage if you so desire. Alright, so now you're arranging marriage with her as the court, so you are the leader of your court, that's why your face is there, and then your face is larger there because you're actually suggesting the marriage between you. Her face is on the right there because she's the leader of the opposing court. You could select another one of courtiers, but you want the woman herself. So when you click on that face, what do you know? There's her court, the people eligible for marriage, and there she is, the girl you want to get. And she is going to say yes, because you're a big important king. You'll lose a little prestige for this, but I think it's worth it.
Okay.
Plus, this is your first time playing. So.
Okay.
Alright, so...
And then I just exit out of here to get back to my page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you've arranged the marriage. It'll take a few days for a message to go back and forth and her to say yes, and then she'll show up. So in the meantime, we can look at other things. Immediately below where your ambition was, that's the little heart shape now. So below there, there are a number of statistics about your county. So that's your domain size. Domain is the land you directly control. Every county in Crusader Kings...
That's how that's pronounced?
Yes.
Okay.
It's French. Every county in Crusader Kings is split into one, usually more, holdings. I can get into that in more detail, but basically there's one primary holding, and whoever controls that holding controls the county, and there'll be a number of baronies underneath that. Baronies are useful because they're vassals like any other. They provide you with money and things, but they're also such small potatoes they have a really hard time rebelling against you. So your barons are a lot easier to keep in check than a count or a duke or a king. You can have vassals at any level, but as long as you have a level higher than them, it goes baron, count, duke, king, emperor.
Okay.
That's your vassal limit.
So I just cannot have...
It's hard to manage multiple ports in your... you can go above that limit, but you might start taking opinion penalties because your diplomats won't be able to handle all your vassals properly. Okay. And when your king dies, some of those vassals might slip away because the kingdom can't hold together on a succession basis.
Okay, but as long as the number of vassals I have is below that limit, that is
no penalties, risk. Nothing to work with.
Okay. What determines that limit?
It's calculated based on the realms of the laws of your realm. The technical sophistication, like the diplomatic tradition you've built up on the technology scale. So law, technology, culture, I think, can do that sometimes. Government type, definitely. And diplomacy is the big one.
Okay.
The more diplomacy stat your king has, the better they can manage it.
Okay. So I could have a problem where when...
a subpar heir can't manage the amount of vessels it's problematic.
Okay.
For that reason, it's important to know how to delegate. If you go over your domain limit, like you control too many holdings directly yourself, you're going to be less efficient at managing all your territories, and people will start getting mad at you for hoarding land and kingdoms.
Okay, but I can, say if I'm a king, I can have a duke one of my duke vassals have a bunch of count vassals.
Yeah, you can fold your vassals under larger rules.
Okay.
To minimize that function. The issue that then comes up is that more powerful rulers are more likely to want to break free, so you gotta balance that too. Almost everything in this game is balanced. Below that is your levy size. This is
the number of soldiers I can call up.
The number of men you can call under arms in a time of war. Calling up your soldiers means you have to pay salaries for them, and so that takes a bit of money. So usually you should have a war chest going before you declare. Although war can be profitable, especially if you get powerful people who want ransom.
Okay.
This is also important because it's part of how the AI calculates how strong you are. So Castile looks at your force limit there, and then he's like, okay, you can hold these many. I have this many on my own with these vassals. If you have a plague go through, kill a lot of your soldiers. If you lose a war, kill a lot of your soldiers. If you're just being shit at running your country and that number goes down, the AI can respond to that.
Okay.
So it's also powerful as a teacher.
So is this also like how many soldiers like do I have like a standing army, or do I of any appreciable size, or if I need any sort of military force, do I have to go through the whole process of calling them?
You have to call them up. It's pretty quick and easy to call them up. They're from your land. Like, you just hit a button, they raise up, they're ready to go.
So there isn't like a mobilization time or anything?
No, they don't want to fuck with that.
Okay.
Early in the game and in smaller countries, the soldiers you get directly from your domain are going to be most of your power, most of your military force. If you have a larger kingdom or empire later in the game, your number of troops is going to be overshadowed by the number of troops that your vassals have. So you can see there's two numbers there from domain, your troops, directly from your land that you pay for, and from vassals. And you can see you have a lot more from your domain.
Okay.
Yeah. Vassals also get upset when you raise their levies for too long. They start taking opinion penalties towards you because they have to pay for your war if they're sending you vassals. So if you can really easily stomp on someone you're having a war with, like they don't have any good allies and they're a lot smaller than you, sometimes it's better to just call up your personal troops and leave your vassals' levies out of it, because then they won't, you're waging a war for your profit, but you're not, costing us anything, so we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's your wealth. That's the number.
An abstract number of how much money I have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Your money is prestige. Prestige is something you accumulate from events, from certain possessions you get that can give you prestige just owning them, although I think that comes from the DLC.
So I'm assuming all of these, in theory, transfer over to my heir. Does prestige transfer over as well?
Your prestige does not. Your prestige and piety get added to your score every time a king dies.
Okay.
So when your king dies, that gets added to the campaign's cumulative score, and that's, if you care about that, that's nice. Your prestige gets added to your dynasty's pool of prestige. This represents you're adding to the legacy of your family. And a fraction of the prestige you add to your family gets given automatically to any child that your dynasty produces.
Okay.
So eventually, you can build up a pretty hefty amount of starting prestige, which is useful because temporal rulers, like other feudal landholders like you, respect prestige, and they have high opinions of legions with high prestige.
Okay.
Piety comes from good deeds, kissing up to the Pope, taking care of your obligations to bishoprics and things, donating money. It does a lot of the same things prestige does, but it improves religious opinions.
Okay.
And there's also merchant vassal or city vassal. So there's like rural land holdings, there's bishoprics, and there's town. Castles, bishoprics, town. Castles and castle vassals, that's what you are. Like, you're the same kind of thing in most games. You get lots of troops from them. Towns give you lots of money, and it's sometimes easier to control because the mayor of a town is not a hereditary position. He doesn't have a powerful dynasty that he can, slowly accumulate power over generations to eventually challenge your power. But they usually don't control anything on a county level or above. They're usually small scale within counties, so they don't even show up on the map.
Okay.
And towns generate a lot of money, but they don't generate very good troops.
Okay.
Bishoprics generate lots of money and troops. It's in between. They're not as good as either, but generally it's pretty good to have a high-functioning bishopric. The problem is bishoprics have two loyalties, to you and to the Pope. So
if I piss off the Pope,
Yes.
the bishopric is going side with him almost.
Yeah. The bishops keep track of their opinion of you and of the religious head, the Pope. If their opinion of the religious head is higher than you, they pay their taxes to them. If you can get your bishops to like you more than the Pope, they'll take the tax money they collect and give it to the Pope. So it goes into Europe.
Okay.
So if you keep your religious people happy, you can get a lot of extra money.
Okay.
Below that are the 5 stats. Diplomacy governs relationships with vassals and other people. It's how much you're personally liked and things.
So the number right here is the base stat for my character.
Mm-hmm. The number on the right is the effective state value of that. Or not state, but your court. So your skill gets added to that of courtiers and like technology and cultural bonuses and things. So your court altogether functions at a level of 17.
Okay.
That's the total diplomatic capacity that the court of this king can put out.
Okay.
Yeah. So the king's stats are very important to that. Martial means how well you can organize troops. Military theory, pretty obvious. Also very important because the number of troops you can raise directly scales with your martial.
Okay, so this increases army levies.
Mm-hmm.
Does it also increase the actual effectiveness of the troops in the field?
If you're leading the troops, your martial skill represents your command ability.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I assume personally leading troops is dangerous because
yes,
if I lose a battle,
like it's a battle.
Yeah. Okay.
You can win a lot of prestige, and your troops might respect you a lot if you go out as a personal leader. And yeah, it can be a fun role play. So always risks and benefits. So, stewardship represents your ability to manage land productively. High stewardship translates directly into a larger domain, which is very valuable. Part of what keeps your vassals loyal to you and paying their taxes is knowing that you can kick their ass if they did wrong. So you always want to have as large of a domain as possible and like weigh how big your domain and the number of troops your domain can provide, how that functions against your vassals and the coalitions of vassals.
Okay.
Intrigue is used for espionage things. So a common thing I do is send my spy master off to research technology in the great cities of the world, send him to Rome or Constantinople or Cordoba. There's a risk of like the person who controls that site getting mad and capturing your spy master for sneaking into his shit. Aside from like that that's what I spend like most of my time having my spy masters do. But if you want to play heavy espionage, you can also send your spy master to help you plot things. And espionage is pretty useful for keeping realms in check.
Okay.
You can't keep that vassal happy, well, you can keep that vassal dead, and then his stupid 3-year-old son takes charge, and he's not competent enough to lead that rebellion. So you buy yourself 20 years to deal with that thing. Assassinate people who hold a title before they have a kid, so that the title passes to you. It's all very useful.
Okay. So my personal intrigue stat is that...
That stacks also with your spy master, your wife.
Okay. Is there anything that, like... Because presumably if I send my spy master to do something, I'm basically using this number?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the sum total of my intrigue, his intrigue, and then...
Your personal stats are important because they boost that state number, and for events where, like, your character specific.
Okay.
I believe that your personal intrigue helps you resist, like, assassination attempts against you. It represents paranoia and things.
Okay.
Especially if your spy master doesn't like you, which is a bad idea to have a spy master who doesn't like you. You also want to be on good footing, so like you can tell when you're like making improvements.
Okay.
Learning is the least directly useful, at least in the short term. It translates into, it can result in some events and things that help you like manage vassals and things like, I read the Iliad, I can be impressive at this dinner, stuff like that.
Okay.
It also affects the technology rate growth, that's its primary use. Your capital province is going to slowly accumulate technology points that you can invest into technologies that give passive benefits to you.
Okay.
Below that is personal combat skill that affects how good you are in duels and keeping yourself personally alive in the field of battle.
Okay. But, like, no matter how high this number is, it's not going to, like, change the outcome of the battle itself? Or...
It lowers the chances of you getting killed in battle, which would obviously be very bad for winning the battle, and for, like, your character's campaign. It doesn't have, like, a statecraft application as far as I know. It's mostly to keep yourself safe and effective in battles, and to... You can also duel rival characters who are pissing you off, and you can use that to kind of, like, control the realm.
Okay.
Combat modifier. Oh. This modifies any flank led by the character. So
this is basically how good I am at leading troops.
Yeah, this will apply every time that you get in charge of it. It says flank specifically, so... Right. So armies are broken down into 3 flanks, central, left, and right. You appoint generals to each of the flanks of an army. They apply their personal combat skill and they apply their martial bonus and their personal combat modifiers for traits and to helping lead the battle. So you can have shitty martial skill, but have something like Mountain Fighter, and you like understand mountain terrain well enough that can give you a bonus there, independent of your prep money.
Okay.
It lets you know you're Catholic and reminds you of some rules. You're feudal and reminds you of some rules that apply to feudal rulers. And that little thing above there is the culture you have.
Okay. Family tree.
You can do that if you want to look through your dynasty and see other there.
Realm tree.
I don't really use that a lot. Oh, yeah, this is just a breakdown of whose vassals are who, so you can hit the plus below your name. It shows all your vassals. And then you can hit the plus below their name to see all their vassals.
How do I
think you need to make this window bigger.
Okay. Do I have all these vassals?
Yep.
Because it only says I have 4 vassals.
Vassals below count level don't apply to that.
Okay.
So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys with the pluses under that name, that shows that they have their own vassals, 7 feudation. Those 4 are the counts who control counties.
Okay. Princess, where does that rank on the...
Your sister. Princess is a title you get. It's used here to denote that she's the dollar king.
Okay.
It doesn't inherently come with any title to land. It means she probably has a claim on the kingdom, but you can be called princess without having any power, land, or anything.
Okay. These mares.
Yep.
Bishop. Okay.
Those are his vassals. That can be useful if you're trying to get a gauge of the person's personal power within their domain within the kingdom. I don't really use this screen a lot, honestly. I guess it's a good way to summarize that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. The grandparents and parents, I probably don't have to worry much about this.
Nope. This is just ways to navigate to other members of your family.
What does the blood?
That indicates that they are a close member of your family. So either in your dynasty, B, they are a close relation. This means they probably have a higher opinion of you, and if you kill them, you get a serious relation penalty to everyone. Killing a close relative and getting caught is how you get the kinslayer trait. It's, considered a grave dishonor.
Okay. Why is my mother not have that symbol?
She's not a member of your dynasty.
Okay.
I think you would get kinslayer for killing her, but the drop is to help recognize this character is of your dynasty. Yeah. So even if your main line goes extinct, if you have an heir of your dynasty from like a brother 3 generations back or something, that means your game can continue. If you have no dynastic heirs left, or if the way the kingdom is set up, it's just going to be inherited by someone who's not a member of the dynasty you started with, your game is over.
Okay.
The shields up above those represent titles you hold directly on the left. And on the right are your claims. So you have a strong claim on the Kingdom of Castile. So you can declare war on Castile to get Castilians.
Where is Castile?
Castile is the yellow country to you.
Okay.
Yep. And it looks like you also have a claim on Galicia, which is the country to you.
Okay.
Alright,
But
so there's also tabs.
My brother is King of Galicia, so I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if
Yeah.
you only, One thing to keep in mind is, when your character dies, depending on your succession line, your titles are often split up between your sons. So if you have one son, he gets everything. If you have two sons, the oldest gets the kingdom title, but the younger one will get a couple of counties.
Okay.
So if you have two kingdom titles that you unite under you, but your titles split up evenly among your sons once you die, both of those sons will get a kingdom. So you'll just go to one son and half of the total realm you got. Because the other kingdom will be free under its new
So I would basically want to get an emperor. If I had multiple kingdoms, I'd want to get an emperor title to pass that down to my son.
Exactly. Or at least have a succession law that means one son inherits it. Lots of people will focus primogeniture first because they just don't want to lose land every time inheritance happens.
Okay.
This pisses off your other sons, and it makes it more important to give those other sons land so they have something to do and they're not completely cheated. They'll take prestige penalties if you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So claims. How do, like, say, how strong would my son's claims on these places be, in theory? Then, like, are these likely to degrade quickly into not being useful?
Well, on succession, strong claims are only given to children who are second or third in the line of succession. I think this means you got that. I don't know if your kid could inherit that. I'm not remembering the details off the top of my head. There is a chance it will degrade over time, but I think it'll be easiest for this character to press that claim.
Okay. So this area right here is what I personally control.
The Kingdom of Leon.
I have vassals. How do I see what they control? Or
You can click on their.
Is that these tiny shields here?
You see the thick lines there?
These lines? Okay.
Yeah, so there are thick and thin lines. The thin lines are just borders between counties. The thick lines are borders between counties that have different rulers.
So this is my personal territory?
Yeah, and I think you have two others spread throughout the country. So is Salamanca yours? You can click on that. Look. Yep, you hold Salamanca.
Okay.
And I think you own this one up here.
Nope.
Oh. I was mistaken. Well, you probably hold two holdings in one of those counties then, because I believe you had 4 on your domain. So in one of these counties, you have a second castle.
Okay.
And you can click on those to see the characters in question. You can go to the, so that's one of the counts that rules under you. And there are map modes where you can see direct vassals. I think it's a little crown. Yeah, click on that. Alright, so this can be kind of a pain because colors in the same region often look similar. But basically, this is your color. It means you own that. You can see Zamora is a slightly different shade. And,
That's my sister, so I'm not directly in control.
Yeah. This shows the realms within.
Basically, everyone who's this color is
Me. Or you.
Or a direct vassal of me.
This color is very slightly...
okay, yep, okay, got it.
Yeah, it's not as easy to tell on, this level, but when you have dukes, the colors stand out clear.
Okay.
So it's annoying at this point, but like it doesn't become a real obstacle at the level where you really need to know who's in charge of where.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can go back to your personal tab. There are tabs that keep track of people close to you. Relations means friends, rivals, your wife and her family, and your lovers. So you can keep track of them. Your vassals tab keeps track of all your direct vassals. So the counts who control counties for you, and the barons in the counties you directly control.
Okay.
The court just keeps track of every character that lives in your court. This includes you, your council, your family members, and just the randos who live and kind of just do noble. You can have events with these people, fall in love, fall in hate. They can plot to kill you. You can plot to kill them. People will ask you if they can marry them. They'll ask you if they can marry people.
He has a different symbol.
Yeah, he's not of your dynasty.
Okay.
A lot of your courtiers are. Oh, okay. That I think that represents actually the. So these people are just your courtiers, like they're not doing anything but being in your court. So their symbol is the court that they're associated with. He holds a bishopric, so his own title shows up. But he's also serving in your court, I think, as your chaplain.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's a member of your court, but also has another court he has loyalty to, i.e. his own.
Okay.
And when your wife shows up, she'll probably have her captive there as a shield.
Okay.
Pacts.
These are treaties I've made with other people.
Yeah. And the broad, that's characters associated with your court who you've sent far away, so they can't interact with other court members. But...
Okay.
Alright. That's your personal tab. And there's still all these other tabs up here.
Ah, yes. Okay. I'm interested in this. Let's...
Okay, so those are alerts. They keep track of opportunities and problems that you have. So weak claims. I thought you had strong... Oh, so you personally have strong claims on Castile and Galicia. Your sister has a weak claim, and you can press a claim on her behalf. You really wouldn't do this when you have a claim of your own to press, but if you wanted to just install your family in a place of power, and one of your family members has a weak claim and you don't have any claim to that area, you can press their claim forward. Gather your army, say, we're going to put you on that throne. So the counties in the game are organized into duchies. And this is telling you that you control enough counties to create a duchy. So you just control the counties first, and then you're like, I hereby group these select counties into the duchy of whatever. And from now on, there'll be a duke of whatever, which is more prestigious. It lets you manage vassals easier by collecting counts under one rule. Okay. So you can click on the de jure duchies, the small crown there, to the left. So this shows the natural borders of all the duchies in the game.
This is a duchy here?
Yes.
This is is it split? Like, is this supposed to indicate this is the full duchy? Or
no, I mean you can check right here, Duchy of Asturias, and you go over Duchy of Galicia.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do I have to have all of the counties in a duchy?
You just have to have the majority.
Okay.
Once you create the duchy, and if you keep it for yourself, you get prestige. Your vassals will get upset with you if you control too many duchy titles on your own, because you're the king. You're supposed to control your direct thing and something to it. When you give a duchy to another character, that grants them all the land in that duchy, so if you have any holdings in that duchy, that character becomes direct holder.
Okay.
So
basically, I have a direct holding of something if nobody else has a claim to that particular plot of land.
But there's no one in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have the holdings you directly control. You can give those holdings away when you create the duchy, so if you have too many, you can create a duchy, give it to someone, or you can just give the holding by itself to someone.
Okay.
It's just be
Is
careful.
there a reason to create these right away?
Prestige? Oh, it's not super important this early in the game too,
Okay.
because like you're not approaching your vassal limit. Yeah. Now,
So this is a different county.
Yeah.
Right, this is a different
this is
duchy,
part of this duchy here.
but
This
I
is
control a
valuable
county.
because if you take over, say, 2 more provinces of that duchy, and then you fabricate the claim on that duchy, so now you have a situation where the King of Leon is in charge of the Duke of Castile. And the King of Leon might be the Duke of Castile, but either if it's yours or if you have a Duke under you, this means that the Kingdom of Leon can declare on what's left of Castile and say, hey, these lands belong to the Duchy of Castile.
even though there is a
King of Castile who has claim.
Okay.
But since you have claim to rule over the Duchy of Castile, you can force him off his land.
Okay.
And then once you completely control the areas in the de jure kingdom, to the right, yeah. Then you can make a claim. Then you can form the kingdom if it doesn't exist, or if you control most of the land in a kingdom, even if the kingdom still survives in like a rump state somewhere, you could say, "Hey, I am now the king of this kingdom because I control most of it anyways. I have a lot of money. I have a lot of prestige. I do all the ceremonies. Now I'm."
So
You can usurp the control of that kingdom from someone. if
Okay.
they're not-
and they would no longer be recognized as the king.
Right. They wouldn't lose land right away, but if they had vassals they were only holding on to because they were king level, they would lose those. So, if the King of Castile is surviving holding one county, and he has a duke holding another county, and you usurp the Kingdom of Castile, then the Kingdom of Castile that he controlled ceased to exist. So it's just him in his one county, and his former duke is for the other county, which makes it easier to make them both out.
Okay.
And you have claim to their lands. This doesn't mean you get to take their holdings, but you do have the right to go over there and say, hey, you have to listen.
Okay.
And force them to do things. Empires work the same.
Empire. So basically,
Yep.
the de jure empire is all of Spain
Yep. Spain.
and also
Portugal.
Portugal.
Yep.
Because Portugal just sort of accidentally happened.
Yep.
Okay. So
This is also important because if you don't have a higher level title, so you're a king right now. So your main use in fabricating a claim on the Kingdom of Castile or usurping the Kingdom of Castile would be that you can claim the rest of Castile. If you were just a duke, though, and suddenly you became a king, this means that you can start having duke vassals without, losing one.
okay.
Because if you're a duke and you create a duchy and then you give that duchy to someone, it can't just be one duke listening to another duke because he was the first duke. That second duke is now of equal rank and grace.
Okay.
So you need the king. And
Just
this-
automatically, like
yeah. Once you give him the duchy title, he's independent. If you were at a duke.
okay.
Just
But
like how
if
you're-
he,
yeah.
So
And if you create a kingdom title and give it to someone right now, because you're only a king, that king automatically becomes independent.
So the only theoretical advantage to giving another title of equal rank to mine to somebody else would be to improve their opinion of me.
Yes. Like I'm having trouble managing my realm as is. I'm okay losing a few provinces out here, and it gives me a member of my dynasty who is now an independent ruler and can help me in wars sometime. Maybe we'll be able to keep an alliance, and it means there's also maybe like a backup line in case the main line goes extinct.
Okay.
Things like that. Yeah, generally people have gotten to have. Because once you have enough of Hispania to form a claim on Hispania as an empire and gain that title, the Pope crowns you an emperor. You have a lot of prestige. All your vassals like you more automatically. You have a larger domain automatically. If you have multiple kingdom titles and a succession law that splits things between your sons, you can have sons gain entire kingdoms, but they'll still listen to the son who inherited the emperorship.
Okay. So I'm assuming I just can't get nearly as much info about realms in this fog of war area.
You won't be able to tell troop movements. You'll be able to see characters there.
Okay.
Technically, I think you can see any character in the game, no matter how far away they are, but there's also diplomatic. So if you went over to India and looked at those, the game is keeping track of who they are, and you as the player can still see who's the count of this province in India, but you can't talk to them. You can't do actions on their turn. Okay. So yeah, you have the weak claim notification. If you wanted to put your sister in charge of Galicia for some reason, this would also mean the county she directly controls in your kingdom would become part of the kingdom of Galicia. She was independent, so it's actively making it.
Mm-hmm. The titles, they're married.
Yep, she'll be here in a few days.
Once we finally unpause the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Vassal inheritance point. So, let's say you were playing a count level character, but your dad was a king level character in another realm. Just, these things happen. If your dad dies and you're his heir, you become the king, which means you take your county, you rip it out of the kingdom you were a part of, because you're now a king, it's your land, you don't have to be subservient to the king of that area, because you're as important as it. So that king, or you in this case, this is the problem you're having, gets a warning that, hey, one of your vassals could inherit land that would make them so powerful they wouldn't listen. Or they'll have a title of a high level that it'll leave your realm.
Okay, so the solution to this is either get more powerful before that comes up, or find a way to decrease the likelihood of them inheriting.
Hope that the people holding that title have another heir that is the first to inherit.
Okay.
In this instance, since it's your sister, what this is threatening is currently your brothers are on those thrones and your sister is their heir. So if one of them kicks it in the next few years before they have a son, she gets their kingdom, so she'll break. Okay. If you took that kingdom from them, you would have it for the rest of your life, and your sister couldn't.
Okay.
Minor titles are like little administrative positions or jobs you can do in the court that you can give to characters. Most of them are going to improve the opinion of that character with you, like, I name you Keeper of the Scrums. This gives them a tiny salary, gives them prestige, and they have a higher opinion of you because you respect them enough to give them this job. Some jobs like Cupbearer are especially important because it denotes a position of extreme trust because you're carrying the cup, you could poison.
Mm-hmm.
If you're given a title by a higher level liege, then you're an independent ruler, so you don't have that. You can be granted those titles, so you might be able to take advantage of those events if you wanted to poison your king. Still pretty risky. And also you can give roles like Court Jester, which lower the person's opinion of you because it costs them prestige to be the jester.
Okay.
And, idle count. Oh, yeah. So this means that your council, not all the members are doing important tasks to help the country.
Okay.
So you can go click on the council button, which is the first one to the right of your face. Here's your council. So yeah, you have a chancellor, marshal, steward, spymaster, and chaplain.
Are these going to be the same positions basically everywhere?
Yeah, the title might be technically different, but they function mechanically mostly the same.
Okay.
So you can go on the appoint button next to their name to check your realm for people who might be better at the job than they are. Your current chancellor has a diplomacy of 11. This is okay, but not great. So if you clicked appoint, you could see a list of other characters that are eligible and sort through them for one with better diplomacy. So you should be balancing things like powerful vassals want to be on the council regardless of if they're qualified or not, and they'll get pissy if they don't get to be on the council.
Okay.
High skill people on the council is useful to you, but low opinion people on the council have more power over your life and can kill you easier if someone comes around asking them to support their plot.
Okay.
There are 3 tasks assigned to each position. So for chancellor, they can just go to another court and talk you up, try to give you a relations boost. They can fabricate claims. That's probably the most important button in the game. So he goes to another county and he starts going around talking to local important people, fabricating documents, coming up with a justification for why your guy should own this land. It rightfully belongs to you all. He works on that for a long time. He generates a strong claim on that land, and then you have a reason to go to war. If you win the war, you get the land, your realm gets bigger, you get more powerful to snowball. If you lose the war, you lose some prestige and money. And your claim usually goes. If you make the claim, but don't press it before you die, your kid will probably lose. Your kid won't be able to press the claim. But if you try to win a war over it, I think your kid can then inherit the claim you made there.
Okay.
And that's so dissent. You can send him to run sabotage basically on that court.
Okay.
And you'll see that there's little percentage chances of things to happen. So the lower your diplomacy skill, the lower the chances of a good thing happening, or the higher the chances of a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no guaranteed progress. You're just, running numbers games of, I'll probably get a claim if I leave this guy here for this long.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And all these tooltips explain what they do, and I'm going to go where my thoughts for that goes.
Dude, what time is it? Just have to want to break for food.
Sure.
I'll pause the recording.